Ethan Cole stood on the observation deck of the New Avalon Command Center. The stars stretched before him like a great ocean of lights, distant suns that burned quietly in the dark. He had seen this view 1,000 times, but tonight it felt different. There was a weight pressing on him, a heaviness that no star could lift. Humanity had spread across dozens of star systems, but it felt trapped. Even among the stars, humans were not free. The Galactic Council had made that very clear. Every new colony, every new ship, every new discovery had to be approved. Permission had to be requested, papers signed, debates held. It was exhausting. It was slow. And it was making humanity weak. Ethan's eyes scanned the stars, imagining how easy it would be to move beyond the Council's chains if only he had the power. But he did not. Not yet. Commander Cole. A soft voice called behind him. Dr. Laura Bennett stepped onto the deck, her hair pulled back in a simple bun. Her eyes were sharp and tired. She had spent the last 6 months studying energy cores and ship designs. That could have changed everything for humanity. But the Council had denied her every request. Dr. Bennett, Ethan said, forcing a small smile. You look like you need a long rest. Laura shook her head. I can't rest. Not when Vega 9 is still out there. The Council just delayed the authorization for our defense systems. If the mining colony is attacked, we can't even respond without breaking the rules. Ethan clenched his fists. Vega 9. He had heard reports that the colony was under threat from a group of raiders, an alien faction called the Phyrexian Syndicate. Thousands of humans lived there, mining resources that the Council claimed were restricted for safety reasons. And now the Council wanted them to wait. Ethan turned away from the stars and walked to the holographic table. A map of human colonies rotated slowly in the air. Red markers indicated areas under threat. Vega 9 blinked ominously, right in the middle. I've read the reports, he said, his voice low. They've been attacked before. The miners are unarmed, and the Council still refuses to let us send reinforcements. How many times are we going to watch humans die before someone says enough? Laura looked at him, her eyes burning. That's the problem. The Council isn't going to say enough. They never do. They see humans as reckless, as a species that can't control itself. They think if we build weapons, we'll start a war. They don't see that we just want to survive. Ethan shook his head. They see us as children, and children are supposed to obey. For a moment, the command deck was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's systems. Ethan could feel the frustration of his crew, the tension in the air. Every officer in the room knew the truth. Humanity had reached the stars. Humans had learned to fight, to build, to adapt. And yet, they had to ask permission for everything. A red alert suddenly blared across the deck. Ethan's communicator lit up. Commander Cole, this is Vega 9 Control. We are under attack. Phyrexian raiders have breached the outer perimeter, requesting immediate assistance. Ethan's heart sank. Report the casualties, he said quickly. Unknown, sir. Communications are breaking down. We are trying to hold, but the voice cut off with a static burst. Laura gripped the edge of the table. They're asking for help, and we can't give it. Ethan's mind raced. Every rule, every regulation, every law from the Council screamed at him to do nothing. But every human instinct told him to act. He looked at Laura. Do we wait? Laura shook her head slowly. No, we can't wait. They will die if we wait. Ethan knew she was right. He had a choice to make. Obey the Council or save the miners. Obey the law or obey his humanity. Prepare the fleet, Ethan said finally. We leave in 30 minutes. Laura blinked in surprise. Commander, you can't. I just did. He interrupted. Vega 9 is human, and humans survive when humans act, not when we beg for permission. The crew moved quickly. Orders were given, ships prepped, engines charged. For the first time in decades, humanity's fleet moved not at the Council's command, but at the will of its own people. As Ethan boarded his ship, he felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were breaking rules that had governed them for centuries. They were risking everything for the chance to do what was right. Laura joined him, carrying a small device that contained her latest energy research. If we get into trouble, this will give us an edge, she said. It's something the council said we weren't ready for. But we are, Ethan nodded. Then let's show them what humans can do when we stop asking for permission. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the council's approval behind. The stars blurred into streaks of white light as they raced toward Vega-9. The battle was waiting. But Ethan did not feel fear. He felt something stronger, resolve. Humans had always survived the impossible, built cities on barren worlds, and faced dangers no other species would dare. And now, for the first time, they would do it on their own terms. As they approached Vega-9. Chaos was already visible. Mining ships were on fire. Raiders fighters zipped through the skies, striking without mercy. Civilians ran for cover, shouting warnings to each other. Ethan took a deep breath. All wings, engage. Protect the colony. Human lives first. The fleet responded immediately, diving into the fight with precision and courage. The Threxian raiders were strong, but they had never faced humans acting without limits. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and willing to risk everything. Laura activated the device she had brought. A pulse of energy surged through the fleet, enhancing shields and boosting engines. The raiders were thrown off balance by the sudden power. Ships that should have been destroyed moved faster, dodged attacks, and countered with precision. Ethan led the attack, his ship weaving between enemy fire. He felt alive in a way he had never felt under the council's watchful eyes. Every maneuver, every decision was his own. No one could tell him to wait. No one could tell him to stop. Hours passed. Though it felt like minutes, the human fleet slowly gained the upper hand. One by one, the raiders' ships were destroyed or fled. Vega-9 was safe, for now. When the last enemy ship was gone, Ethan's communicator buzzed. The voice from the colony was trembling but alive. "Commander Cole, you saved us." "Thank you," Ethan exhaled slowly. "No thanks. You saved yourselves by holding on. We just helped." Laura stood beside him, exhausted but smiling. "Ethan, we actually did it. We acted without asking. And it worked." Ethan looked at her, then at the stars. "This is just the beginning. If humans can fight for what is right without asking for permission, then maybe one day the council will have to see us as equals for the first time in centuries." Humanity had acted not as subjects of the council, but as free people. And somewhere in the dark spaces between the stars, a quiet, unshakable truth had begun to grow. Humans do not wait. Humans do not beg. Humans survive. As Ethan watched the sun rise over Vega-9, he knew that humanity had taken the first step towards something greater. They had broken the chains of permission, and the universe would never see them the same way again. The new Avalon fleet had returned to orbit around Earth, but the mood on the command deck was tense. The victory at Vega-9 had been hard won, and while the miners were safe, the actions of Commander Ethan Cole and Dr. Laura Bennett had not gone unnoticed across the galaxy. The Galactic Council watched the human fleet with growing alarm. Their screens showed the daring rescue and the destruction of Threxian raiders. Human ships had acted without permission, defying orders, and the Council's authority had been challenged openly. "Commander Cole," a voice called on the ship's intercom. "The Council has sent a message. They are demanding your immediate presence on the High Council station for a hearing." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "A hearing," he muttered. "Because saving lives is a crime, apparently." Laura shook her head. "We should have expected this. The Council can't allow humans to act on their own. They will punish you to make an example of us." Ethan glanced at the holographic map. It showed the Council's central station floating in the heart of the galaxy, a massive spire of metal and light. Thousands of ships from other species guarded it. Humanity had no fleet large enough to challenge it. Yet he did not feel fear. He felt resolve. When the fleet arrived, Ethan was escorted to the council chamber. Alien delegates of every shape and size filled the room. Tall beings with thin limbs, creatures with multiple eyes, and others with translucent skin all stared at him with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Commander Cole," said a large, blue-skinned alien with sharp features, "you have disobeyed orders. You have interfered in a matter that was under our control. Do you understand the gravity of your actions?" Ethan stood tall. "I understand perfectly. Vega 9 was under attack. Thousands of humans were dying. I chose to save them. I will do it again if I have to. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Several delegates hissed in disapproval. You humans are reckless. One of them shouted. You think rules do not apply to you? Ethan looked around the chamber. He saw fear in some eyes, disgust in others, and a strange curiosity in a few. They had never seen a human speak so boldly before. One of the delegates, a slender alien named Vorik, leaned forward. Do you understand, human, that by acting without permission, you have violated the laws of the galaxy? That you have endangered peace? Ethan shook his head. I endangered nothing. The Threxians would have killed everyone on Vega 9 if I had waited for permission. Peace is meaningless if it costs lives. A younger human officer, Captain Ryan Hale, was brought forward. He had commanded one of the rescue ships. The council turned to him. And you, Captain Hale, do you support this rebellion against authority? Ryan's face was calm. I support protecting human lives. That is what I did. That is what any human would do. The council's delegates looked at each other. Some whispered in their strange languages, but none of it mattered to Ethan. He had made his choice, and he would not back down. Then came the verdict. The council had decided. Ryan Hale was sentenced to death for unauthorized military action. The delegates said it was necessary to maintain control over human colonies. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He had expected punishment, but death? For saving lives? Laura stepped forward. This is wrong. You know he did the right thing. He saved thousands of humans from the Threxians. Punishing him will only make humans angry, and rightfully so. Vorik sneered. You are naive, human. You think morality matters in the galaxy? Rules are law. You will learn obedience, or you will die. Ethan clenched his fists. We have learned obedience. That is why our colonies are dying while you argue over paperwork. We are not children. We are humans, and we will not be controlled anymore. The council banged its gavel, signaling the end of the hearing. Ryan Hale was taken away, his fate sealed. Ethan and Laura returned to their ship, their minds heavy with the weight of what had happened. This isn't over, Ethan said quietly. If they kill him, every human will see what the council truly is. They are not protectors. They are oppressors. Laura nodded. We need a plan. The fleet is strong, but not strong enough to challenge the council openly. We have to be smart. We have to show them that humanity will not wait for permission again. The first step was communication. Ethan and Laura broadcast messages to every human colony and settlement. They explained what had happened, warning that the council could strike anywhere if humans continued to act independently. They also called for solidarity. Humans had to stand together. Responses came quickly. Colony leaders, miners, scientists, and civilians sent messages of support. They were tired of waiting, tired of rules that made no sense, tired of being told to ask before acting. One colony sent a simple message: we will fight if necessary. We will not be slaves to permission. Ethan felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this was the beginning. Perhaps humanity had finally reached the point where it would act for itself, without waiting for approval from others. Meanwhile, the council was not idle. They began deploying ships to block human trade routes, to isolate colonies, and to capture ships that showed signs of rebellion. Their plan was simple: crush the humans before they could grow stronger. Ethan watched the council fleet assemble on the holographic map. It was larger, more powerful, and better armed than anything the humans had. Yet he did not feel fear. He felt determination. Laura studied the displays. We can't match them in a straight fight, she said. But we don't have to. Humans are creative. We can use what the council doesn't expect. We can outsmart them. Ethan nodded. Then we will. We save lives, we protect our colonies, and we do it on our terms. No more asking. No more waiting. No more permission. The news of Ryan Hale's sentence spread across human worlds like fire. Riots erupted on some colonies, protests on others. Humans were angry, yes, but they were also united. The council had made a mistake. It had shown the humans what they were willing to fight for. On New Avalon, Ethan convened his senior officers. We have to move quickly. The Council will try to stop us, but we have something they do not have: our people. They believe in freedom. They believe in survival. And they are willing to act. Captain Mila Grant, a young officer with sharp instincts, spoke up. We need a target, Commander. Something that will show humans we are serious. Something the Council cannot ignore. Ethan considered this. The Council relies on control, not courage. If we act boldly, if we do what they say we cannot, it will inspire our people. It will give them hope, Laura added, and it will show the galaxy that humans will not be slaves. We can build weapons, we can explore systems, and we can protect our people without asking anyone's permission. Plans were made. Supplies were gathered. Ships were repaired and upgraded. Every officer and crew member knew the risks. But they also knew that this was the moment humanity had been waiting for. And then came the message from Vega 9. The miners were safe, yes, but they were under constant threat. The Threxians were regrouping. They would return, stronger and more organized. Ethan clenched his jaw. We can't wait for the Council to act. We have to defend our people ourselves. If we don't, no one will. Laura placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we act, together. For the first time, humans began to act not as subjects of the Council, but as their own masters. Every colony that received the message began preparing. Every ship that could fly began training. And every human who had been told to wait learned that the universe would not wait for them. The Council had thought they controlled humanity. They had thought fear and rules would keep humans in line. But they had underestimated something fundamental. Humans were willing to risk everything to protect life. Humans were willing to break rules if the rules were wrong. Humans were willing to fight for freedom. And so, the galaxy began to change. Ethan and Laura stood on the deck of New Avalon once more, watching the stars. This is only the beginning, Ethan said quietly. Laura nodded. The Council thinks they have power. They think humans will obey. They are wrong. And when they see what we are capable of, they will remember this day. The day humanity decided not to ask for permission. For the first time, the future felt alive. For the first time, humans knew they could shape it themselves. And for the first time, the galaxy saw that humanity would not wait for anyone to decide their fate. The galaxy was quiet, but that quiet was deceptive. Humans no longer waited for permission, and their actions had begun to ripple through the stars. Colonies once hesitant to act now prepared for independence. Fleets were repaired, weapons were modified, and every human settlement practiced drills in case the Council came to enforce its will. Commander Ethan Cole stood on the bridge of the flagship Liberty, a ship built for speed and precision. Beside him, Dr. Laura Bennett monitored the energy systems she had designed. Her device, the Helios core, pulsed softly, ready to power the fleet in ways the Council had forbidden. We have strength, Ethan said quietly. Not in numbers, but in courage. Not in permission, but in action, Laura nodded. If the Council tries to stop us, they will see what humans can do when no one tells us what we can or cannot do. Orders went out to the colonies. Every settlement that could muster ships and weapons prepared to strike or defend. Depending on need, humans were taking back control of their destiny. Ethan's first objective was the orbital shipyard at Titan's Edge, a major supply hub under Council supervision. It was heavily guarded, but the humans could not wait for permission. The Council's control had delayed too long, and supplies and weapons were needed for defense across human colonies. The fleet approached Titan's Edge silently. Sensors detected patrol ships, but Ethan used strategies no alien race expected. Humans moved unpredictably, using asteroid fields and energy fields to mask their approach. Laura worked at the control panel. This drive will let us move faster than anything the Council has. We can reach the shipyard before they can respond. Ethan smiled. Then let's make history. The fleet moved in, and the battle began. Council patrol ships fired, but the humans were ready. They dodged, countered, and struck with precision. It was not sheer firepower that won the fight, but strategy, quick thinking, and teamwork. The humans were unbound by rigid rules, unlike the Council's fleets that followed strict protocols. By the time the last Council patrol retreated, The humans controlled Titan's edge, supplies, weapons, and repair stations were now in human hands. Ethan broadcasted a simple message to the galaxy: humanity will act to protect its own. No longer will we ask permission. No longer will we wait. We are free to defend, to explore, and to survive. The message reached every human colony. The response was immediate. Colonies sent messages of support, offering ships, weapons, and volunteers. Humans everywhere were joining the movement. For the first time, the Terran Free Union was more than an idea, it was a force. But the Council was not idle. Alien leaders convened in secret. They could not allow humans to take control. The High Council argued over what to do next. Some suggested negotiations. Others demanded immediate military action. Humanity is dangerous, said a Phyrexian delegate. They act without fear. They defy orders. They are unpredictable. Another delegate, with translucent skin and many eyes, added, if we do not act, they will continue to grow. Soon, other species may follow their example. The Council agreed to send a massive fleet to crush human independence. The stage was set for a war that would decide the future of the galaxy. Ethan knew this. He called a meeting with his senior officers. The Council will strike soon, he said. They have more ships and more firepower. But we have something they don't have: human ingenuity. We can't match them in numbers, but we can outthink them. We can win if we are clever. Captain Mila Grant spoke up. We have allies too. Some species are tired of the Council's rules. They have seen what humans can do and want to join us. We are not alone, Ethan nodded. Good. We use every advantage, every ally, every surprise, and we protect our people at all costs. Laura added, I've improved the Helios core. It can now power ships to move faster than Council tracking systems can follow. We can strike quickly and retreat before they know what hit them. The first independent operation of the Terran Free Union was planned. A rescue mission to a small mining colony called Orion's Reach. It had been under siege by Phyrexian raiders, and the Council had ignored their distress calls. Humans could not wait. The fleet jumped to hyperspace and arrived above Orion's Reach within hours. The raiders were already attacking, using fighter ships and orbital bombardments. Humans launched their ships immediately, dodging energy blasts and retaliating with precision strikes. The Helios core gave them an edge. Ships moved unpredictably, shields held against heavy fire, and weapons struck with accuracy. Humans saved the colony, and in doing so, sent a message to the galaxy: they would no longer be controlled. Back on New Avalon, Ethan watched the news reports. The colonies were responding. The fleet had inspired humans across the galaxy. They were acting independently, defending themselves, and preparing for what might come. But the Council was furious. They declared humanity a rogue state and began blockading key trade routes. They warned colonies not to support humans or face punishment. Ethan looked at the display. They think fear will stop us. They think threats will make us obey. They are wrong. Humans do not wait. Humans act. Laura placed her hand on his arm. And we are just getting started. With the Helios core, we can defend ourselves anywhere. We can strike when necessary. We can show the Council that humanity will no longer be controlled. Meanwhile, whispers of rebellion spread among other species. Colonies that had once bowed to the Council began to question its authority. If humans could fight for freedom, perhaps they could too. Ethan knew that the coming battle would be hard. The Council's fleets were larger, their weapons more advanced. But humans had something the Council could not measure: creativity, courage, and the will to survive. The fleet moved to another sector, preparing to liberate colonies that were suffering under Council neglect. Each victory inspired more humans and allies. Each rescue showed that action was more powerful than permission. One of the alien commanders, Kelter, observed the humans in battle. He spoke to his Council. These humans are dangerous. They fight not because they are ordered, but because they choose to. They are a species that cannot be controlled. We underestimated them, and that is our weakness. Ethan did not know about Kelter, but he did not need to. He only needed to know that humans were rising, that their courage was spreading, and that the galaxy was beginning to see that humanity was not a race to be dominated. At the end of the day, Ethan and Laura stood together on the deck of Liberty, looking at the stars. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but humans were no longer afraid. "We have shown the Council that humans will not wait," Ethan said. "But they will strike back. We must be ready." Laura nodded. "We will be ready. Humans have survived worse than this. We will survive again, and we will grow stronger. And one day, every colony will know that they do not need permission to live, to fight, to protect their people." Ethan smiled. "Then let's keep moving. The galaxy is ours to defend, and we will do it on our terms." The stars stretched endlessly before them, a vast ocean of possibilities. Humanity was no longer a subject waiting for approval. They were a force, unbound and determined, and the Terran Free Union had only just begun to rise. The galaxy would soon learn a truth it could not ignore. Humans do not wait for permission. Humans act, and when they act, no power in the galaxy can hold them back. The battle had been long, and the galaxy had changed. Humanity had fought not for permission, not for approval, but for freedom. The Terran Free Union now stood as a beacon of independence, a force that other species could neither ignore nor control. Commander Ethan Cole stood on the deck of the flagship Liberty, watching the stars. Countless fleets had come against humanity's ships larger, faster, and more powerful, but none had broken their spirit. They had survived the Council's wrath and the Threxian Syndicate's attacks. They had survived because they acted when no one else would. Laura Bennett, now older and quieter after months of constant battle, joined him. The Helios core had been upgraded again, now powering an entire fleet in ways that seemed almost impossible. She looked out at the stars and said softly, "Ethan, we did it. We really did it." Ethan shook his head. "We've only just begun. The galaxy is ours to defend, but it is not ours to conquer. We have to show them a new way, one without tyranny." The Council had collapsed. Its fleets had been beaten in one region after another. Its leaders had been forced into hiding, and its authority was no longer absolute. The very species that had once treated humanity as reckless children were now calling for negotiations. Some came with fear, others with respect. Ethan called a meeting with his senior officers and allies. "The Council is finished, at least for now," he said. "But our work is not over. We have colonies to protect, survivors to help, and a galaxy to unite without oppression. We have to lead with strength, but also with fairness." Captain Miles Grant spoke up. "Commander, many of the other species are asking to join the Terran Free Union. They saw what humans could do, and they want to stand with us." Ethan nodded. "We will accept them, but only if they fight for freedom, not control. No one will tell humans what to do anymore, and no one else will either." The first act of diplomacy was delicate. Former Council members came to negotiate peace. They expected fear, perhaps submission. Instead, they were met with clarity and firmness. Humans would not bow, but they would offer opportunity. Any species willing to cooperate fairly would be welcomed. One of the alien leaders, Kelter, who had once called humans dangerous, now knelt before Ethan in an unusual gesture. "You have proven that humanity is not to be ignored," Kelter said. "We wish to learn from you and to serve alongside you, not against you." Ethan regarded Kelter with cautious eyes. "We do not lead to dominate. We protect, we unite. You may join us, but only if you respect that." Kelter nodded. "We understand." Across the galaxy, the news spread. Systems that had once lived in fear now celebrated the rise of the Terran Free Union. Human colonies and allied species rebuilt together. Trade routes reopened, communication networks were restored, and the galaxy began to feel alive in ways it had not for centuries. Ethan and Laura walked through a newly rebuilt colony on Mars. Children played near domed structures, free from fear of attack. Humans had built farms, schools, and energy plants that used technology the Council had once forbidden. It was a peaceful scene, but Ethan knew the peace had been hard-won. Laura smiled, watching a small group of children chase a ball across the red sand. "They won't understand the battles we fought," she said, "but they will live in the freedom we fought for." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "And that is enough. Every action we took, every risk we faced, was for them, for the people who will never have to ask permission to be alive, a messenger arrived, bringing a holographic display. It showed a new map of the galaxy. Former council systems had begun to join the Free Union, and humans were no longer isolated. The message was clear. The galaxy had changed. Ethan turned to Laura. We showed them that humans do not wait. We acted, and we survived. And now, we will lead the galaxy in a new way. Laura nodded. The galaxy will remember this day, Ethan. The day humanity stopped asking for permission and took control of its own destiny. Ethan gazed out at the stars. For centuries, humans had been seen as reckless, emotional, and weak. But now, they were a force to be reckoned with. Their courage, their creativity, and their unwillingness to bow had rewritten history. On Earth, people celebrated. Streets were filled with humans cheering, waving banners, and telling stories of bravery. Families reunited, and colonies shared their survival tales. Humanity had learned a lesson no law or council could ever teach. Freedom comes from action, not from asking. In the council chambers of the Terran Free Union, Ethan addressed representatives of humans and allied species alike. We were told to wait, to ask, to obey. But the universe does not belong to those who bow. It belongs to those who rise. We will protect our people, defend our colonies, and explore the stars without fear. This is the way of humanity. The hall erupted in applause. It was more than celebration, it was affirmation. Humans would no longer be controlled. They would decide their own fate. Laura looked around, her eyes shining. We've changed everything, Ethan. The galaxy will never be the same. Ethan smiled. No, it won't, and it should not be. Humans are unbound now. We will show others that courage, action, and determination are stronger than fear, rules, and oppression. As night fell on the colonies, Ethan stood alone on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, each one a reminder of worlds yet to explore and dangers yet to face. But for the first time, he did not feel small or constrained. Humans had survived against impossible odds. Humans had led the Free Union. Humans had acted without permission, and they had succeeded. A soft message arrived from a distant colony. It read simply, "Thank you, humanity. We are free because of you." Ethan smiled. It was all worth it. Every risk, every battle, every life saved had led to this moment. Humanity was no longer a subject of the galaxy. Humanity was a force, and somewhere deep in the stars, Ethan could feel it, the quiet, unshakable truth of human nature. Humans do not wait. Humans do not beg. Humans survive. Humans rise. The dawn of the unbound had begun, and the galaxy would never forget it. The stars above shone brighter that night, not because of their light, but because of the human spirit that now stretched across the universe. Freedom had a face, and it was human. Ethan turned to look at the fleet below. Ships repaired, colonies ready, allies joining. They were not the same humans who had once waited for permission. They were unbound. They were ready. They were free. And for the first time in history, the universe had seen humanity for what it truly was: unstoppable, unyielding, and unwilling to bow. The galaxy had been told. Humanity had acted, and the story of the Terran Free Union was only beginning.